My 18-year-old daughter graduated first in her class. My parents offered to throw a graduation party for their granddaughter. When we arrived, it was for my niece, who'd just finished 8th grade. The cake said, "For our only granddaughter." I didn't yell. I did this. 3 days later, they got a letter and started screaming. Let me tell you about the last time I trusted my parents with anything that mattered. Actually, scratch that. Let me tell you about the last time I trusted them at all. Because this wasn't just another family slight. It wasn't about forgetting a birthday or mispronouncing a name or calling my daughter by the dog's name for the 10th time in a row. Number. This was next level. This was betrayal baked into buttercream and served on a folding table next to shrimp skewers and lies. It started innocently enough. My mother called me on a Tuesday afternoon. Light, casual tone. The kind she uses when she's about to say something that's going to ruin my day, but wants me to think it's sweet. "We were thinking of throwing a graduation party," she said, "for our granddaughter." Just like that. Our granddaughter. I was loading groceries into the trunk and nearly dropped a bag of rice. "Oh?" "Yes," she said. "Something small. Just family. We'd love to host." That was it. I said thank you. She sounded sincere. The kind of sincere that makes your shoulders drop just a little. The kind that makes you believe, against all better judgment, that maybe this time will be different. I didn't even think twice about who she meant. My daughter, Mia, had just graduated high school, valedictorian, thank you very much. After 4 years of sleepless nights, group projects with kids who didn't do anything, and pushing through things no kid should ever have to deal with, she made it. And now, finally, maybe my parents saw her the way I did. I told Mia about it that night. Her eyes lit up. "Grandma and Grandpa?" "Yup." She blinked. "Really?" I nodded. She didn't say anything else, but I could tell. That little spark of finally. Like after years of showing up, being helpful, being good, someone had noticed. If I could go back in time, I'd tell both of us not to get our hopes up. The day of the party was hot. Not summer hot. Sticky back of the knees hot. My husband Marcus couldn't find the good shoes. Mia kept changing her earrings. I was sweating before we even got in the car. The closer we got to my parents' neighborhood, the quieter we all got. "Remember," I told them, "this is a nice thing." "Let's just smile and say thank you I said that. Like a fool." We turned the corner onto their street, and I nearly drove past the house. At first glance, it didn't look like a party. It looked like a small wedding. White canopy tent in the yard, dozens of folding chairs, streamers, gold tablecloths, even those little personalized signs stuck into the grass. I felt my throat tighten. "They really went all out," Marcus said, low. Mia leaned forward. "Wow." We parked and got out. The second we stepped onto the lawn, we were in the middle of a crowd. Hugs, air kisses, plastic cups of lemonade shoved into our hands. People I hadn't seen since childhood. Family friends, cousins, my uncle's ex-wife. How did she get invited? Then I saw the girl, front and center, curls done, sash across her chest, glittery dress, practically glowing. And I swear, I still didn't see it. I just thought she was excited for Mia. I smiled at her, waved. Then I saw the cake. 3 tiers, pastel pink frosting, gold piping, a little edible graduation cap on top, and written across the front in careful cursive, "Congratulations to our only granddaughter, class of 2025. I froze. Only? I blinked, rereading it. That couldn't be right. There are 2 granddaughters, Mia and Kaylee. 2. Then I saw the banner, the colors, the logo from the middle school, and the framed photo next to the cake. Kaylee, holding a rolled-up certificate, wearing a sparkly white dress and a tiara like she just won a pageant. It hit me all at once. This wasn't a party for Mia. It never was. Behind me, Mia was silent. Not frozen, not panicking, just still. I looked at Marcus. He looked back at me. No one spoke. We stepped into the party like ghosts. No one noticed anything. Not yet. People smiled, said things like, "You must be so proud," and "What a beautiful day." A few guests gave Mia confused looks when they realized she wasn't wearing the sash. A few gave me those quiet, polite smiles people use when they're not sure if they've made a mistake, or you have. And then the gift table. One by one, guests handed over wrapped boxes and cards. There were bows, envelopes, handmade signs, a personalized tumbler. We brought nothing. Why would we? We thought this was for Mia. A woman I barely knew gave me a strange look. Another whispered something and glanced at Mia. One cousin actually tilted her head and mouthed, "Where's the gift?" I wanted to sink into the lawn. Then Heather stood up, glass of champagne in hand. "Let's all take a moment to celebrate our girl." She's worked so hard. We couldn't be more proud. Middle school is a huge milestone, and she's handled it with grace, beauty, and intelligence. Cheers, laughter, applause. Mia just stood there, not crying, not moving, just watching. I waited until the toast ended, until people sat down, until the crowd thinned around the cake table. Then I found my mother near the cooler, scooping ice. "The cake says only granddaughter," I said. She smiled, distracted. "Oh, probably a mistake at the bakery." I didn't move. She shrugged. "Besides, Mia's older." She's not a child anymore. This was more of a milestone. I stared at her. She went back to the cups. Then my dad walked up holding a paper plate. "Wait, did Mia graduate too?" I said nothing. He blinked. "From what?" I blinked back. "High school." He laughed. "Oh, right. That's right." I looked at my mother. She didn't say anything. She just smiled and turned back toward the buffet table. We left. No one stopped us. No one followed. No one even noticed, which somehow made it worse. Mia got into the back seat and looked out the window. I started the car. Marcus sat in silence. And as we pulled out of the driveway, I said, "We're not doing this again." What we did next? Let's just say, 3 days later, they got a letter. And this time, they were the ones left speechless. There are things I didn't notice when I was a kid, and there are things I did notice but talked myself out of. That's what growing up in a family like mine teaches you, how to gaslight yourself before anyone else gets the chance. It wasn't until the cake, that I looked back and realized, oh, this wasn't just an oversight, this wasn't a bakery typo, this was the punchline to a joke they've been telling behind our backs for years. And the joke was us. I've always been described as easy. Not in the scandalous way, in the manageable child kind of way. I didn't cry at bedtime. I organized my own lunchbox. I said thank you too often and wanted too little, which meant my parents treated me like furniture they liked having around but didn't need to maintain. My older brother was the thinker. My younger sister Heather was the little sparkle. I was just there. Middle child. Middle of the road. Middle of the conversation, if I was lucky. I didn't realize it was odd that my mom would tell stories at dinner about my siblings' spelling bee wins or school plays, while I was sitting right there, having apparently attended none of my own life. It's not that they hated me, it's worse than that. They didn't notice me. And you can survive that, but it leaves a bruise you don't see until later. The house they live in now, the scene of the cake, used to belong to my grandmother. When she died, she left it to my mom, my brother, and me. I was 4. Heather wasn't born yet. The first time my mom mentioned my name being on the deed, I laughed. "You're joking, right?" She waved it off. "You're technically a co-owner. Just ignore that. It's not a real thing, right? Just a legal share in a house they've lived in for decades." Silly of me. But I did what I always did. Smoothed it over. Because that's what I was trained to do. When I had Mia, I expected something soft to unlock in them. I thought my mom would lean in and say, "You were like this once." Or that my dad would cry holding her. They did neither. They said she was cute. They brought a bib. Then they asked how many hours of maternity leave I had left. That should have been the giveaway, but you don't want to see it when it's your kid. You want to believe they'll come around. They didn't. Mia didn't have doting grandparents. She had people who sent birthday cards with $20 in them and forgot which grade she was in. No sleepovers. No photo frames on the mantle. Just the occasional polite, "Tell us how school's going, sweetheart," while scrolling through their phones. It wasn't mean. It was nothing. And sometimes, nothing hurts more than cruelty. At least, cruelty notices you. Meanwhile, when Heather had Kaylee, 4 years later, there were balloons, hand-knitted sweaters, a silver rattle engraved with her initials. Who gets that? My dad learned how to use a photo printer. My mom joined a Facebook group for cool modern nanas. They suddenly had time. They suddenly had opinions. They suddenly had an identity, grandparents. Capital G. For Mia, they were just older adults who shared a table with us twice a month. We went to every dinner. We smiled. We brought food. We listened to long updates about Kaylee's piano recitals and tooth fairy visits. Mia even complimented her artwork, which was usually a few streaks of purple crayon and a triangle claiming to be a dolphin. I think Mia knew what was happening, but she was trying. She really, honestly was. She'd offer to help clean up, set the table, laugh at Grandpa's awful jokes. She showed them how to use the TV remote, how to send an email, how to save a contact in their phone. I watched her type things in gently, like someone hoping good behavior might earn her something. Not money, not gifts, just love. Her other grandparents, my in-laws, live in Europe. She gets to see them maybe once a year, if that. So for her, this wasn't just about Sunday dinners. It was about having grandparents at all. She wanted what other kids had. People who told embarrassing baby stories, pinched her cheeks, mailed her weird souvenirs from Florida. She wanted to be a good granddaughter. And she was. But it didn't work. Not really. They liked her. They appreciated her. In the same way you appreciate a neighbor who brings your trash cans in. Kind, helpful, forgettable. Senior year, she worked her tail off. Top of her class. Debate wins. Volunteer hours. She did it all. And I could see it in her, this growing hope. That maybe the success would tip the scales. She never said it out loud. She didn't need to. She'd casually mention things like, "I think Grandpa likes history too, right? I got full marks on that project," or, "I wonder if Grandma saw the photo you posted." She wasn't asking for a parade, just a nod, a sign that she mattered to them beyond showing up and being useful. I told them about her graduation weeks in advance, sent them the details. Twice. They didn't RSVP. 3 days before the ceremony, I got a text from my mom. "Sorry, not feeling 100%. Might sit this one out, sit this one out." Like it was a neighborhood barbecue. Like it wasn't the culmination of 18 years of work. Mia didn't say anything when I told her. She just tied her shoes and asked if her speech sounded okay. That was the worst part. Not the silence. The normalcy. So when my parents called and said they wanted to throw a graduation party for our granddaughter, I didn't hesitate. I didn't overthink it. I didn't ask. Of course I thought they meant Mia. Who else could they mean? They said our granddaughter, and for once in my life, I let myself believe they meant us. I told Mia. She lit up. It was quiet, that kind of smile. But I saw it. That small flicker of maybe they're trying. She didn't ask questions. She just nodded and said, "Okay." She picked out a dress. She even offered to bring one of her favorite teachers to say a few words. She was nervous and excited and scared in that hopeful way that only teenagers are, when they still think things can be different. And honestly, so did I. We were wrong. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to send a letter like that. Not a handwritten note. Not a Christmas card with best wishes scribbled in fake gold ink. I mean a letter. One that makes people stop breathing for a second when they open it. One you don't respond to with words, you respond with rage. I didn't even write it myself. Marcus did. He drafted it like it was nothing. Calm, polite, lethal. A surgeon's cut. I signed it without blinking. Because I wasn't doing this for me. I was doing it for my daughter. It didn't feel triumphant. Not at first. Just strange. Quiet. almost clinical. We printed 2 copies, one for our records, one to drop off. I didn't mail it. I delivered it by hand, folded once, tucked into a plain white envelope. No return address. No note. Just the words. I intend to sell my 1/3 share of the property located at clean, legal, non-negotiable. They could theoretically buy me out, get a loan, scrape together their pension checks, and do whatever it is people do when they're faced with the consequences of a decades-long power imbalance. But I knew they wouldn't, and I knew that wasn't the point. The point was, they don't get to own me anymore. Heather called first. I picked up because I wanted to hear how it would start. She opened it in front of Kaylee, she said, like that was the greatest crime committed all year. I didn't answer. Mom screamed, Laura. Like full volume. She nearly dropped her tea. Should I apologize to the tea? Heather didn't laugh. She was sobbing. I thought someone died at first. Did she read it out loud? I asked. Yes. She said you're trying to sell the house. Our house. Correction, I said. 1/3 of the house. She was shaking. She should hydrate. Heather made a strangled noise like she was deciding whether to hang up or scream. You're destroying her, she said finally. No, I replied. She did that to herself. I'm just making it official. Click. 3 hours later, my mom called. Caller ID. No message. Just persistence. I picked up on the 3rd ring. I'm going to pretend I misread that letter, she said calmly. And you're going to tell me it was a mistake. I let the silence stretch. Then I said, it wasn't. She sucked in a breath. Like the letter was one thing, but this confirmation was somehow worse. You're really going to sell your share of the house? Yes. Our home? No, I said. My share of Grandma's home. You don't even live there. You don't pay the taxes on it alone either. My mom was quiet for a moment. Then, this is vindictive. No, I said. This is overdue. You're doing this because of that stupid party. I'm doing this because my daughter's future shouldn't be tied to a house full of framed photos of someone else's kid. She laughed, sharp and bitter. Oh, so it's about Mia now. Everything I do is about Mia. You're going to make us homeless. No, you can buy me out. You can take a mortgage, sell your car, call Heather. You've got options. She didn't respond to that. She just said, you want to be careful. You don't want to burn every bridge. I smiled. Pretty sure you took care of that with a cake and a banner. And then I hung up. That evening, Marcus found me sitting at the kitchen table, staring at a scratch in the wood I'd never noticed before. He didn't ask questions, just handed me tea. Do you feel guilty? He asked finally. No, I said. I feel like I should. But I don't. He nodded. We sat like that for a while. Then I said, I've always made excuses for them. I know. Even after the party. I know. I think I thought they'd come around eventually. He looked at me over the rim of his mug. You don't believe that anymore? I shook my head. They knew she got in. They knew we were scrambling to figure out how to pay for it. And they spent all that time celebrating someone else's kid's middle school certificate like it was a PhD. Marcus didn't answer. He didn't need to. The next few days were quiet in that way that feels more like a loaded gun than peace. I stopped answering their calls, stopped running errands. No more filling prescriptions. No more checking their voicemail. No more, can you help me log in texts. Mia stopped too. She didn't say anything dramatic. She just opted out. No more tech support. No more Kaylee birthday videos. No more late night, can you look at this email real quick? Requests. She just quietly stepped back. I asked her once how she felt. She said, like I deleted a virus I didn't know was running. Then, 4 days later, Heather tried again. You don't even know what you've done to Mom, she said. She's walking around the house like a ghost. I thought she was already doing that. She keeps rereading the letter like it's a death notice. Maybe it is. For the version of herself that thought she'd get away with it forever. She's not eating. She's not listening either. Heather sighed. It's not too late to fix this. It is. Just call her. No. Just talk to her, Laura. I did. I sent a letter. And then I hung up again. That night, Mia came into the kitchen as I was drying dishes. She leaned against the counter, arms crossed. You ever feel like the bad guy? She asked. I paused. Yeah. All the time. Why? She smiled faintly. Just making sure I wasn't the only one. I smiled back. Then she said, Do you think they'll ever get it? No, I said. But that's not the point. What is? We don't owe them understanding. Just boundaries. She nodded once, and we left it at that. I thought the cake was the low point. You know the one, congratulations to our only granddaughter in swirly pink frosting, piped with such deliberate cruelty, I'm surprised the bakery didn't file a warning report. But apparently, I was wrong. Apparently, there are worse things than being erased from your own daughter's graduation party. Like finding out the same people who raised you tried to take away her entire future. It started 2 weeks after the letter. The letter Marcus helped me write. The one that said, in lawyer-perfect language, I'm selling my share of the house. No threats, no yelling, just facts. 2 weeks later, Mia walked in from dance class with that face. The one that looks normal if you don't know her, shoulders straight, voice calm, but I know better. She told me what happened. They were waiting for me, she said. On the sidewalk. I blinked. Your grandparents? She nodded. Apparently, they showed up outside her dance studio like two friendly ghosts. Waved her over. Acted like they just happened to be out on a walk. They hadn't shown that much interest in her hobbies in 18 years, but sure, now they're coordinating with her class schedule. She said they were nice. At first. Too nice. Like stage actors doing dinner theater. Then came the script. You're really going to let your mom do this to us? She's making us homeless, sweetie. Talk to her. You're the only one she listens to, I asked how she responded. Mia shrugged. I told them no. No drama, no screaming, just no. That's when my mother looked her dead in the eye and said, Fine. But choices have consequences. Mia turned and walked away. I didn't. I stood in the kitchen for a while after she left, staring out the window like maybe the trees could tell me how not to scream into the wind. Because here's the thing. I expected guilt trips. I expected manipulation. But dragging Mia into it, ambushing her near a dance class, making her the one who has to tell me to back off? That was new. That was deliberate. And I hadn't even seen the worst of it yet. Another 2 weeks passed. We were finally breathing again, talking about dorm furniture, meal plans, the good kind of stress. And then the letter arrived, big envelope, university logo. Mia thought it was her housing packet. She opened it at the kitchen counter while I was rinsing a bowl. I heard her breath catch. Then she handed it to me. It wasn't housing. It was a notice from the admissions office. Her enrollment was under review. An anonymous report had been submitted, alleging omissions, inconsistencies, undisclosed legal entanglements. The phrasing was so sterile, it made me cold, like reading the autopsy of something that hadn't died yet. Mia didn't speak. Marcus took the letter, read it once, twice, and then looked at me like someone had just kicked the front door open and lit a match. I sat down hard. It took me a full minute to process what I was seeing. Not because I didn't understand it, because I did. This wasn't petty. This wasn't family politics. This was an attack. And not on me. On her. I got in the car. Didn't even tell Marcus. Just grabbed my coat and keys and drove straight across town. I wasn't afraid of what I'd say. I was afraid of what I wouldn't. My father opened the door like he'd been watching through the blinds. My mother appeared behind him. Not surprised. Just smug. I didn't say hello. Did you report Mia to the university? No blinking, no confusion, no, "What are you talking about?" Just stillness. And then my mother said, "You think you can do what you did and not face consequences?" I stepped inside. "You tried to destroy her life. She shouldn't be there," my mother said. "That school wasn't meant for her. She got in on her own. You dragged your drama into it. What did you expect? I expected you to be angry. I did not expect you to sabotage a child's future just to get even. She's not a child. She's part of this." I stared at her, and something inside me snapped. Not in rage, not in tears, just a clean break, like bone pulled from bone. "You're not just bad grandparents," I said quietly. "You're dangerous people." And then I turned around and walked out. They didn't see me hit record before I rang the doorbell. That night, I posted 3 things to the family group chat. No intro, no preamble, just a photo of the cake, a screenshot of the university letter, and an audio clip of my mother saying that school wasn't meant for her. Then I turned off my phone and made dinner. The fallout was immediate. Within an hour, the chat lit up like a Christmas tree on fire. Cousins I hadn't heard from in years chimed in with, "Wait, what?" and "Is this real?" One aunt texted me privately, "I had no idea." "I'm so sorry." 3 people left the group silently. Heather eventually jumped in with, "This is being blown out of proportion." No one answered her, not even Kaylee. Mia read it all, calm, methodical, like she was collecting evidence for something bigger than revenge. When she reached the end, she looked at me and said, "I don't think I ever want to see them again." I nodded. She went back to her room like she'd just finished cleaning up someone else's mess, and in a way, she had. A few days later, my phone rang. It was my brother. We hadn't spoken since the party. "They called me," he said. I didn't respond. "They want help buying you out," said they're desperate. Still, I stayed quiet. Then he added, "I told them no. In fact, I want to sell my third too." I felt something in my chest unclench. "For Mia," he said simply, "this crossed a line." That evening, Mia and I sat on the back porch. The sun was just low enough to feel forgiving. She stirred her tea with a spoon she'd bent accidentally months ago and never replaced. Then she asked, "If they apologized, would you forgive them?" I thought about it, really thought about it. "No," I said. "Not for this." She nodded. "Good." Fast forward 1 year. The house sold. Not quickly, but clean. Solid price. My third covered everything Mia needed. Tuition, housing, the bills no one sees coming. And there was money left after that. More than I expected. We haven't spoken to my parents since. No calls, no apologies, no weird letters slipped into the mailbox. Nothing. Far as I know, my brother hasn't either. He signed the paperwork, took his third, and ghosted. Quietest exit I've ever seen him make. Heather? Still orbiting. But the glow's gone. I heard they had it out a few months back. She finally stopped defending what they tried to do to Mia, said she needed space. She got it. My parents used their cut to buy a house, if you can call it that. Tiny, run down, far from town, bad street, worse neighbors, no mortgage. They couldn't qualify, so they paid cash and settled for rot, leaks, and sirens at 2 a.m. It's theirs now, every cracked tile of it. Mia? She's steady, focused, sharp in all the right ways, and they'll never get to take credit for a second of it. But you tell me, did I go too far, or not far enough? Drop a comment, and hit subscribe.